Hi, welcome back to another episode of Practical Organic Living. In today's episode, I'll be sharing with you what we're going to be planting out for our summer 2022 garden. As you can see behind me, I have about 18 raised beds, and I'm actually only going to be planting 12 of those raised beds. And in my seed starting tray here, I have exactly 12 columns, which I'll be planting one packet full of seeds in each column. In the first column, we'll be planting okra. And we actually like this variety of okra. We'll be planting just one set of okra. And in the next column, we'll be planting cucumbers. So there's two varieties of cucumbers here. They're both Japanese cucumbers. We're gonna try planting two different varieties just to see which one tastes better. So that's Japanese cucumbers. So here's a Japanese pickling melon that we're gonna be trying out for the first time this year. And we're very excited to try this variety out because this is something we haven't had for a while. So here's a couple of basil varieties that we're actually not going to be planting in the seed tray. We'll be planting in a separate seed tray. The reason is because we don't have enough space in this particular seed tray. And also I'm going to be planting one raised bed with one variety of basil. Next up, we're going to be planting a couple of varieties of sweet peppers. So we actually planted these last year and we found these were actually pretty good and did well in our climate. So we're going to give them another try this year. Next up is eggplant. And this year we found these two variety eggplants, which we've never tried before. So we're planting a smaller type of eggplant and a bigger type of eggplant. Next up are a couple of varieties of tomatoes. So let me go through each type of tomato. So our favorite variety, as you can recall from our harvest videos last year, was the Sun Gold variety. And the Sun Gold variety is a cherry tomato, but it tastes really sweet and super tropical. So this is a garden keeper. Here are three varieties of tomatoes that we're going to try this year. We've never planted them before. So this one is also a cherry type. It's called the Nappa Chardonnay tomato. And this one's also pretty small. I'm not sure if it's cherry, but it's a hybrid between a couple of varieties of tomatoes. And it's also supposed to taste pretty fruity and tropical. Of course, when you plant tomatoes, you have to include one beef steak tomato. So this year we're going to be trying this Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes. So that's the tomato. Last but not least are these Sakata melons. And these are really small melons that are kind of a cross between a honeydew melon and other varieties of melons. And they're super fragrant and super sweet. We'll be growing 3 beds of these. In this raised bed, we'll be planting ginger. Ginger is a little tricky to plant in our area because it needs a lot of sun, but it doesn't like direct sun. So above me, there's a canopy of bananas that will hopefully provide shade. And in this raised bed, we'll be planting blue spice basil. The reason why we like planting the blue spice basil is because it's super fragrant and attracts a lot of bees. And in these 3 raised beds back here, I'm going to be removing the Asian lettuce, the bok choy, and the spinach, and I'm going to be planting the varieties of tomatoes that I introduced you before. In the raised bed behind me, I'll be planting the Kellogg's breakfast tomato. In this raised bed over here, I'll be planting 2 of the Nappa Chardonnays and 2 of the black strawberries. And in this raised bed, I'll be planting the Sun Gold tomatoes. So here are 6 raised beds, each planted with 4 broccolini plants. And my plan is to remove the broccolini plants and plant the Sakata melons in 3 of these raised beds. The reason I'm planting Sakata melons in 3 of these raised beds is because these 3 raised beds get the most sun. And of course, no summer garden is complete without basil. So in this bed, I'll be planting Genovese basils. And this basil grows pretty large leaves. So we're excited to grow basil again this year. And this variety is a keeper in our garden as well. So in this raised bed over here, I'm going to be planting eggplant. And as I mentioned before, we'll be trialing 2 different varieties of eggplant. The smaller version, it looks like a egg-shaped eggplant, as well as this big eggplant. It's very similar to black beauty, I feel, but we'll grow it out and we'll see how it looks and how it turns out. So this is the Mitoyo and the Kamo eggplants. All right, and in this raised bed right next to the concrete wall behind me, I'll be planting peppers. And the reason I'm planting peppers back here is because there's gonna be a lot of heat radiating from the wall to the raised bed. So this place should be pretty warm at night. These sweet peppers did really well last year, and we really enjoy the taste. So we're really excited to plant these 2 sweet peppers again. So in the raised bed, right next to the green onions, we'll be planting Thai sweet basil. So we'll be taking out the raised beds of cabbages here and garlic. And in this raised bed, where I've currently planted chrysanthemum greens, I'll be planting the pickling cucumber. The reason I've chose this bed is because it gets pretty good sun throughout the day. And these pickling cucumbers can grow pretty tall, so they really do need that sun. And right next to the bed of the pickling cucumbers, and where I currently have planted Taiwanese sword lettuce, I'm going to be planting the Japanese cucumbers. And the reason I chose these 2 particular varieties is because I found that later on in the season, Japanese cucumbers get a lot of powdery mildew and other diseases. And because we love Japanese cucumbers so much, I want to prolong the harvest. So that means I had to find some disease-resistant varieties. So we'll try these 2 different varieties out and we'll let you know how these perform in our area. And last but not least, where I've currently planted these chrysanthemum greens, I'll be planting okra. So this variety is an orange type of okra, and we found that it does pretty well in our climate. Last year we trialed, I think, 3 different types of okra, and this one produced the best. So we're excited this year again to try this okra, the Jing orange okra. So that was our summer 2022 garden plans. We look forward to bringing you along as we show you the growth and progress of our summer garden. Also, we will have more taste test videos as Sally continues to taste test and evaluate the new varieties that we'll have planted, such as the tomatoes and the cucumbers. So that'll do it for today's episode. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you on the next episode. Bye everyone.